Welcome to the In Humble Opinion Podcast, the show where no topic is off limits.
I just get so tickled over this.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the In Our Humble Opinion podcast. In this episode, Brantley and I discuss the new trend in gaming, which is migrating more towards a hardcore game mode for RPGs, MMOs, and things of that nature. So we'll be talking about our experiences with those game modes, as well as why I believe personally this is going to be a trend that sticks around a while, as the game modes are incredibly fun, but we'll get into the psychology and sort of the different gameplay that they promote. If you haven't subscribed already to our show and you're enjoying the content, we just humbly ask that you take a moment to either follow the show wherever you get your audio entertainment and or subscribe on YouTube. We've gotten a huge response on YouTube recently, so we greatly appreciate that. And without any further delay, let's jump into tonight's episode. All right, Brent, let me pose a question to you to kick off our episode this week. You have been critical of my approach to hardcore gaming over the last I guess almost a year at this point. You've been claiming things like I am a masochist, psychotic, all these other terms. And I'm curious as to, well, first of all, how dare you? And second of all, why are you saying such terrible things about an awesome part of the gaming sphere that has become less niche and more mainstream? And I think it's great.
Well, Jacob, I'm glad you asked. I don't have a problem with hardcore gaming. What I consider hardcore gaming is gaming that, you're a consistent gamer, you play a lot, you love a lot of games. I don't consider hardcore gaming playing. Let me put this into perspective for the audience listening out there. What Jacob's referring to is Jacob's idea of starting something.
My idea?
Yes, your idea.
What?
Jacob played Fallout 4. Now, Fallout 4 is a fun game. And he wanted to play survival mode, which is very difficult, which is fine. I played it. I got platinum in survival mode. To me, that's pretty hardcore. I get it. But then Jacob put a restraining order on his character, or a handicap on the character. Every time he died, he would restart the game. And here's the thing.
Pretty intense, pretty hardcore.
It's not hardcore. It's masochist. I don't understand your reasoning behind it, because in hardcore or survival of Fallout 4, if a what are those things? Bloatfly attacks you, you're pretty much screwed. Good luck surviving. And Jacob wants to go through this whole game without dying. That's fine.
Yep,
but if he dies, here's the thing. He restarts the game. Here's where it gets crazy, though. The opening to Fallout 4 literally takes like 30 minutes every time. And it's the most boring opening in the world. And Jacob restarted this hardcore character on Fallout 4. I don't know how many times, 20, 30 times.
Whoa, now hold on.
Now, that's not sugarcoated, Jacob.
Okay.
You restarted it quite a bit.
It's probably like maybe 10 times.
All right, multiply that by 2. 20 times. So Jacob subjected himself
Not 20 times.
to the most monotonous opening in gaming. One of the most monotonous openings in gaming. Over and over again. Simply because a death claw, which for people who don't know, it's like a mutated gator. Simply because a death claw appeared out of nowhere and lobbed his head off. And Joe's like, well, I got to restart. And here's another thing. This is a little off to the side. One time he blamed me and our friend Josh, that's been on the show, for his death. He threw a grenade. It hit a wall and bounced back and killed him, and he blamed us. That's how I know his insanity is being lost through these challenges he calls, because he starts blaming other people for that. Now, he was joking, obviously, but that's just one example. Let's go to another example that was before.
Wait, time out. Before you move on, I've got to respond. I've got a rebuttal here. First of all, let me set the scene here. I saw online they were issuing challenges to these different, and I understand they're content creators, but similar to when Charlie issues these challenges of people doing speed runs and other things. And I saw this particular challenge of, it's called You Only Live Once. And it was this Fallout 4 survival challenge of trying to beat the story of Fallout 4 in survival mode with one life. So basically, yeah, you can't die. And I thought it sounded like a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun, albeit frustrating from the sense of I lost several characters that had a high percent chance, I believe, to make it through the campaign due to just like bugs and crashes and stuff, which is really unfortunate. Like my whole save like corrupted multiple times, and then I got one character to roughly like the mid-20s in terms of level, and for some reason at like a particular point of Boston never loaded properly and kept crashing every time I would walk into that area. And I had to go into that area for the mission, for the story mission. So I would say I got very unlucky and got more frustrated dealing with that than the actual game mechanics itself. Yeah, I died to a deathclaw, and that was kind of unfortunate. And yes, I did die to a grenade, although it's because I shot it with the spray and pray. It's not because it hit a wall, which is even more frustrating. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, despite the crashes and stuff, which is why I ultimately put down the challenge and said, you know what, I just don't think I'm going to be able to do this. But I had fun, and that's what's most important. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. But you also subjected yourself to restarting that over and over. That is terrible. Okay, here's another example. And to answer your thing with Charlie's challenge one night, there was $30,000 on the line for Charlie's challenge. That's the difference, Jacob. You're doing it for no reason. Hello.
No. That's where you're wrong, my friend. I'm doing it because it's fun.
Oh gosh. Okay, well let's move on. Elden Ring. Again, we have all been waiting for years. Years. Okay, it comes out. I get it. Josh gets it. Jacob gets it. And we're like, all right, here we go. In Elden Ring, for those who have played and those who have not played it, there's a boss that jumps out at the start of the game. And it's pretty much designed like every boss for you to lose to. Now, you can beat it. And if you beat it, awesome.
You can.
But Jacob over here restarts the game 40 times. 40. Let me say it one more time. 40 times.
More or less.
No. More. 40 times just to beat this boss. And he did it so many times that he burnt himself out on playing Elden Ring, and he didn't pick it up for like another week or two because of that boss. I remember saying, Jacob, you should really be playing Elden Ring. Oh, I just don't want to play it right now.
Okay.
The game we have been anticipating for so long. And all because Jacob, for whatever reason, thought that if he beat that boss the first try, which he didn't, 40 times later, he didn't. But if he beat it the first try, then he would be given a middle finger to FromSoft. And guess what? FromSoft doesn't even care. They just know that you restarted the game 40 times to beat this one boss that does not matter. It gives you a useless item, and it doesn't matter. And then you die anyway, even if you kill it. Hello?
All right, Your Honor, I'd like to take the stand now, please.
Take it.
Okay. So, yes, in a nutshell, I did restart multiple times just to try to beat this boss. I will not deny it. But I will say, you can call it pride, you can call it ego, and you may be right. But I can't let that stuff just pass. I just can't do it. I can't go through the game knowing that something like at the start got the better of me. I cannot do it.
But it's a
So
new game.
I couldn't do it. Like I would get, a couple hours into exploring Limgrave after the start, and it just kept gnawing at me that I didn't beat that boss. So I had to do it. And I will say, not only did I do it, I mastered it, and I could beat it now with every single class, no issue. I mean, it's not hard. There's a particular opening you get whenever he does a particular attack, and you just have to be patient and wait for that opening. But I just couldn't let it pass. I mean, I'm wired in such a way, and again, you can call it being stubborn, and I'm not even denying that. But I knew I could do it. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it more than anything. And I don't know. It's similar to, and this is why I wanted to talk about this. Like hardcore gaming for me, it's not spending hours and hours and hours doing something that's, meaningful to everybody else. Like this whole idea of hardcore gaming is so interesting to me. And I think it's why it's so popular. And I'll pose this to you because I think this is a great way to illustrate the point for all the gamers who may be listening to this episode. Why do we love games like Bloodborne and Elden Ring and really just FromSoft RPGs and those like it?
Yes, they bring a challenge, Jacob, but
Yeah, they
their
do.
challenge is not telling you, well, you got to restart every time.
Well, I know that. But I'm just like, it's because, and I'm just trying to illustrate the point here. Let's say you're stuck on you were playing Wulong Dynasty.
Indeed.
And you were stuck on that last boss. And there have been numerous bosses throughout the genre that we've been stuck on before, whether it be Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, even Elden Ring with Millennia. Whenever you finally reach the summit and you beat that boss, there is a sense of satisfaction that really is hard to replicate. It is what you've been working for that entire playthrough. And in gaming, it's just like complete euphoria. It's amazing.
It's great.
And you did it. You climbed to the summit. You beat the boss. And I love that challenge of, okay, like how it's the same reason like Nuzlocks are so interesting and fun for me. I like to challenge myself. I like to see what I can accomplish. And yes, no one's watching. I'm not streaming. I'm not making any money off of it. I get that. But it just provides, it makes the game more fun for me, regardless of how painful it looks. It's fun for me to do it. And if it wasn't fun, I would not do it. But it truly is fun for me to do it.
Well, to answer I would explore Limgrave and I just couldn't scratch that itch and let that go. Okay. All right. Okay. What about Ludwig?
I went back and beat him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you remember? Well, whenever I struggled with him, I was in New Game Plus. Remember? So I went back, beat the whole game, went into the DLC.
Beat the DLC?
Yeah, and I killed him.
Did you beat the whole DLC?
That one I did. Yeah.
How fast did you kill Orphan of Kos?
I struggled with him. I know you did much better than me. I struggled.
Well, surprisingly, I did beat him first try, and I kind of sat there like, holy crap. But, okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. What about Neo? What about
Neo? It's similar to...
it's a challenge.
It is a challenge, and this is where it's kind of weird, and I kind of put my own little... I felt like Neo... I was dying to things that were out of my control.
Okay, let's hear.
Like I felt like
I was with you, but I have since refrained.
Like I feel like I was dying to like the difficulty curve was just very abrupt and random. It felt like I was getting punished for making like mistakes of how I build a character up. Like enemies would just spawn in places that I felt like didn't promote interesting or challenging gameplay, but just punished you if you didn't make like super precise moves. Like there was a platforming section after the map with the with that boss. I don't know. I just felt like the game design wasn't quite there, and I was dying so many times to like environmental hazards. Like it looks like you can walk on this water, but you can't. And actually, you die as soon as you try to. It's just stuff like that that kind of got under my skin after a while, and I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't having fun, and I decided I just didn't want to play the game anymore.
And that itch of, oh, I got to prove it wrong anyway, was gone.
You see, that's the thing. Like, I didn't feel like it was necessarily something I was doing wrong. There were a lot of times I would die because of my lack of inexperience and clear lack of skill. But that game in particular, I just, again, like having fun is the whole thing for me, and I wasn't having fun with it, so I put it down.
Fair enough.
Same thing for Sekiro. Like I wasn't having fun playing the game, so.
Okay. Well, here's my thing with Neo. I think Elden Ring has made all these other games much easier. I say that because I went back to Dark Souls 3 and I blew through it like it was nothing after Elden Ring. I went to Wulong Dynasty, however you say it. And you remember Josh and I quit because we're like, this is too hard.
Oh, I did too.
And you did too. I blew through that game, except for the final boss. I did struggle a little bit, but I blew through the game for the most part. No issues. And now on Neo, those same things in the past, Jacob, that you and I struggled on. And this is not me saying, oh, I'm so much better now. I just think that Elden Ring had made me better. With Neo, I figured the strategy for a lot of things is patience and time. You have to time yourself out. There's a boss, the second boss you fought her, the vampire girl.
Yeah.
I went into her the other night and got absolutely wrecked over and over. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I was like, wait a second. I need to reapproach this like I've been playing Oolong, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, all that. Go in slow, time it out, and I have no issues with her now. There's a nightmare boss, or a nightmare mode where you can fight her again. She's even harder. I beat her first try, no issue. That boss you and I struggled with, not the water boss, I'm at that part right now, but the other one, the samurai guy, beat him first try. And the patience. But that has nothing to do with hardcore gaming.
Well, actually it does. And I'd like to highlight a point you just made, because I think this is truly a very important point that I'd like to expand on. You were talking about something clicked and you thought, I have to take a different approach. I have to strategize differently.
Yeah.
And when you're playing hardcore gaming, which for the audience at home, it's basically a lot of MMOs and even like Minecraft, for example, action adventure games. It's exactly as we described with the Fallout.
Halo 2.
Yeah, Halo 2 that we were challenging. It's getting through a game on like the hardest difficulty setting possible without dying. And it's become this really popular thing, like hardcore World of Warcraft, hardcore Iron Man, and OSRS. I'm sure we'll talk about more, but it's so fun to hardcore Diablo 4. You know, every mistake you make is just so punishing that, you know, it's not, you can't just approach something like, oh, it's okay if I die, not a big deal. Like in Neo and all these other, you know, ARPGs that we play, we just respawn, right? Like you can die as many times as you want in Elden Ring. It's not a big deal. The games are so hard in and of themselves that people don't really play the one life challenge or the hardcore. Some people do, but not very many. When you're playing like an actual proper hardcore game mode, let's say hardcore WoW, for example, when you and I were playing that.
Yeah.
The smallest quest, like when you had to fight Princess, for example, like you have to really think about everything that goes into that quest. Where are the other mobs that are going to spawn next to this one? How do I pull it? How do I get it away from this? What's my backup option? What's my nearest escape route? Am I properly prepared? Do I have health potions? You can't make a mistake. You have to be prepared for that. And that's like one of the easiest introductory, like hard quest in the game. And if you were playing a regular character, or softcore as they call it, then you could just, you know, nonchalantly run in there. Who cares if you die? There's really no penalty for it. It's just a little bit of an inconvenience. But when you're talking about people who spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours into these characters, and they lose that progress. There is a lot at stake whenever they're challenging bosses and hard quests and other things. And it makes, for me personally, it just makes the experience way more enjoyable. And I like it way more. Now, there are some times where I don't want to, stress myself out. And I use that word loosely. But there are times where I want to relax and just play a game. And that's whenever I'll play, you know, my Switch or something and just chill. But a lot of times I find myself now where I'm in the mood to really challenge myself, strategize, to come up with these ideas and put them into action to see if they are successful. And whenever I find success in these games by doing that, I truly just have way more fun than I would if I was just playing some normal softcore character.
Fair enough, but you restarting Fallout and Elden Ring that many times just still blows my mind. It does. I
I'm
did not.
dedicated. I know what I want.
I did not understand it. Nuzlocke can be fun. The problem I have with Nuzlocke is if your Pokemon die. For people that don't know, Nuzlocke, there's a set rules. One thing, if your Pokemon faint, they basically die, so you got to release them. And there could be times where your whole team is just out except for one, and then where do you go from there?
Decimated.
Yeah, because some of the rules are you can't catch another Pokemon on this route, and you're like, well, what do I do now? Which can be irritating. So, but that's fun. But restarting Fallout, that to me, that's the biggest thing, Jacob. Fallout 4, you had to watch that cutscene so many times. I don't know how that was enjoyable for you. I do not.
Well, I mean, honestly, you can skip through, like,
the dialogue.
What's wild, and this is what I think we're kind of getting into speedrun territory whenever I make this point. But what's wild to me is that, I restarted Fallout 4 quite a few times, and I did the same thing for Elden Ring. It's just crazy to me how efficient you can be getting through like some of these things that you do over and over again. Like, even subconsciously, how much you optimize it. Like, I could get through the vault section of Fallout 4 in no time flat and be out in Concord in like under 30 minutes.
I would say for me, Bloodborne and Bloodborne, there's still a boss that's like a mental thing for me, the Bloodstar Beef. But everything else, and Dark Souls 3, I'm like that. And that's not me bragging. I amazed myself when I beat the game. Like the Nameless King. Remember how long you and I were terrified to actually fight the guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then I beat him first try, no issues. I'm like, okay.
And you mentioned Bloodborne. It was the same thing for me. Whenever I got the final trophy in the game, I beat the campaign doing all the, skipping all the optional bosses. I did it in right around 2 hours, the whole game. So, it's just you get so proficient, and it's kind of mind blowing, and I enjoy that. I enjoy figuring a game out inside and out. Like, how am I going to go about doing this? And I think that's why our hardcore Ironman characters were so successful so early on. Is just because we knew
that is fun though. I enjoyed that.
We knew the early game of OSRS because we played it multiple times at this point. And on that point, my very first hardcore Ironman character, yes, I died like a day after you did on your first one. And I couldn't let it pass. Like, I remember texting you and I said, it's not going to bother me. I'm not going to quit. But it did. It was the same thing as an Elden Ring. I was like, I failed the challenge. I've got to go back. I can't. I mean, I'm not very far in the game. I'm like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours in the game. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And so I did, and I don't regret it at all.
My thing is the challenge is Iron Man itself, not necessarily if it's hardcore or not. Iron Man itself is the challenge for me. That's the challenge. Whether I die or not is not the challenge. The challenge is how am I going to beat, let's just say, Grador, Bandos, with my Iron Man when I can't get a whip to 85 Slayer. I can't even get a God Sword because I got to do God Wars to get a God Sword.
Yep.
All the highest in-game bosses drop the best weapons that I would need to fight these bosses. To me, that's the challenge. Strategizing around that. How am I going to How am I going to get a rune crossbow? That was a challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, when we started that journey, which by the way, if there's anybody listening to this who does play OSRS and has considered making an Iron Man,
It's
I
a blast.
highly recommend it. It is by far my favorite way to play the game. And Brantley and I think it was great that you and I did it at the same time because we would come up with these ideas and find these, tidbits of information that we were able to pass through or pass to one another. Like the steel plate bodies in the wilderness and free to play for good money.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me about the prayer thing, which I didn't want to risk my hardcore, but it's a good idea.
Well,
I did see people mentioning that
wasn't
online
worth
too.
it.
So I mean, like just stuff like that, and it's it's wild to me to see how the skills in OSRS complement one another. Because when you're on like a main account, you don't really get that because everything, if it's not a viable, you just kind of put it off because there's more efficient things you could probably be doing. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're a hardcore or you're an Iron Man, like if you want to smith, you have to get the ores yourself. If you want to cook, you have to get the fish and food yourself. If you want to fletch, which that was a huge pain point for us, you have to
Oh.
get all the supplies yourself. And herblore, which is one of the easiest skills to train for a normal account who can buy the supplies, is one of the hardest for Iron Man because it's so difficult to get all the supplies
Mm-hmm.
to train it in bulk. And I don't know. It's a totally different way of thinking about playing the game. And that's what I really love about it. And that's the kind of challenge that I'm after now, I guess in my old age. I just enjoy,
Yeah.
thinking about games in a totally different way.
Yeah, and I would say like skilling on normal characters is boring. Let's be honest. I mean, it's boring all the way around. But at least on Iron Man, like woodcutting, I can't stand woodcutting. But I knew I'm gonna need this many logs if I want to get 69 fletching to make a rune crossbow.
Hmm.
So even though woodcutting is boring, I thought, all right, I gotta go on mine. So it made it a little bit better. I was like, all right, this is gonna pay off. This is worth it. And then once I got it, I was like, all right, now it's time for me to make my bows or whatever to get the fletching to 69. And when I did that, that was worth it. And then, of course, I stumbled upon a roadblock. I needed adamant bolts to make diamond bolts. And that requires 73 smithing. I was like, all right. So I trained my mining,
Yep.
which got me the stuff for smithing. And now my character's even better because I had to get these skills up to be able to do this stuff. So you have like a strategy, a plan, what you need to do, or what you want to do, and you figure it out the best. Now, obviously, there's guides and tips to help you along the way, but there's also stuff you just do yourself. Like you and I, we did temporus, whatever it's called.
Oh
For
yeah. Yep. Hmm.
it's not the fastest XP, but think of all the planks we got, the fish we got, just the
The rewards in
beneficial
general,
stuff.
yeah, are totally worth it.
And the mini games, that's another thing. Iron Man makes the mini games relevant for us. Because before that, the only mini game I played was Pest Control a little bit and Soul Wars.
Yep.
With Iron Man, I played so many different mini games, and they're actually fun. They add more
Yeah.
fun to the game. So
No, I agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. I think it's a great way to play the game. Yeah, some people would look at it. I did see this, and I'd like to get your response to it since we're talking about old school. Somebody said on Reddit, or no. This is whenever I was training thieving. They said in the, people were just talking, while we were skilling. And one guy said, imagine playing a self-imposed game mode just for a stupid icon next to your name that no one cares about. And a lot of the Iron Men obviously were kind of triggered by the comment, we're coming to the defense of the game mode. But I think he just misses the point. It's not about. A lot of people think, and maybe to some extent this is true, but a lot of people think people who play these game modes and these self-imposed rules and these hardcore game modes have like an ego check. I don't personally. I don't have that. I don't go around
I
gloating.
disagree.
I beat Bloodborne in 2 hours. Like I know nobody cares, but if for me, it's just more satisfying for me to like accomplish that. And I don't.
Well,
I don't really need the self-validation or anything like that, but I just enjoy, as we mentioned, the strategy and stuff like that. But I was curious to hear what you like. If you heard someone say that to you, what would you respond, or how would you
Well,
respond?
well, my thing is, why do we play video games? Everybody. Why does everybody play video games?
At
It
its
gives us
core, I think to have fun, right?
to have fun, but it also gives a sense of accomplishment, right?
Yeah, to
I
some
mean,
extent.
when you beat a game, you're like, all right, I beat it. When you have fun, when you beat a game that's not fun, you still feel accomplished, right? There's no beating RuneScape, and you can't tell me woodcutting is fun. So why are you playing the game? Oh, so you can build up your account to be like, hey, here's my account. That doesn't mean you have an ego. You're just like you're proud of your account, correct?
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're the same reason Iron Man are playing it. They like that more strategy type play. Like you, like Iron Man, you got to strategize, you got to plan. They like that. That gives them a lot of joy and makes them proud about what they've accomplished. Why is the person who doesn't have Iron Man play? Oh, to build up their account to get that Bandos hilt drop or a pet and be like, hey, look what I got to feel accomplished. Right? Am I wrong?
No, I think a large part of the player base does take pride in what they accomplish in the game.
Yeah, I mean, at least in RuneScape, that. Maybe in, I don't know, Fortnite, just, well, even Fortnite, when people win, they brag. They feel accomplished. They're having fun and they feel accomplished. And I think that goes for the people who say, oh, imagine having that icon. Yeah, we like that. We feel good the same way you feel good when you hit that 99 skill. You did that to accomplish it. You hit it. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, and I look at MMOs in particular, but really all hardcore game modes and things like that. Even Diablo 4 would fit into this category for me. It's like I look at the challenge, I see, okay, especially in like Diablo 4 and World of Warcraft, because death is permanent. Like there's no
Yeah.
coming back from that. If you die, it's over, no matter how far you progress into the game. With OSRS, it's a bit different. Obviously, you just lose your status, which is still pretty detrimental, but you don't lose your account. But I start the challenges and I look at it and I say, you know, I visually, I look at it like I'm climbing a mountain. And whenever I start the challenge, I'm at the base. And as I get closer and closer to my goal, I get to the summit. And whenever I accomplish a goal in my mind visually, I'm just planting the flag in that summit. And that's how I visualize my Iron Man account, is like every goal that I tick off, like the 70 agility, the mining, the quest, it's a mountain that I just put my flag into. And then I move on to the next.
Power Emmy.
And it's, yeah. Yeah. And so I just, working on that power amulet mountain right now, but that's a steep one for sure. But
That's not that bad.
well, see, I don't have hunter though. I'm using crafting, so it's a bit different. It's a bit harder, I think. I think you were the smart one in that decision, but
you told me the idea. I just executed.
Well, I know. I neglected it and just haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, no. I mean, I just love the game mode. Like hardcore Diablo 4 is fantastic. Some of the most exhilarating moments in the game that were the most memorable are whenever I was playing on my druid in hardcore. This is back in the Eternal Realm, and the butcher spawned in like my very first set of dungeons, and like I was running frantically trying to figure out how to get out. Like stuff like that is so fun for me. Hardcore World of Warcraft, when we were playing that, was so fun for me. Like honestly, having you and John there obviously enhanced the experience a lot. But like whenever we fought Hogger,
that was a blast.
Like,
scary.
It was terrifying, but you remember like just strategizing, like how are we going to do this? You know, John was trying to tank, you were being DPS support, I was trying to heal and keep aggro as low as possible so it wouldn't pull to me. Like just stuff like that made the game so fun. Watching people die, like in the as sad as it sounds, and it truly was at times, but there were some people that were just idiots who did it.
We were just making fun of them.
Yeah, just sitting there laughing at them. I mean, just stuff like that. I don't know. It just makes gaming more, and like dying in the dead mines is something I will never forget.
I don't know how I survived.
Yeah.
You were the reason I survived.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the mobs went to me. They could have, they could have easily, aggroed you, and maybe I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's a memory that I'll always hold dear, and the fact that I recorded it is even funnier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love those experiences. I just really do, and I think it was because of those rules that made it so much more enjoyable. Like if we were on regular accounts, because we did, right? We made regular accounts, and
Mhm.
we kind of fell off the game shortly thereafter, just because I don't think it sunk its hooks in as deep.
Well,
But
I know why it fell off, Jacob.
explain.
We were waiting on you.
Well, I was still playing hardcore. I made a paladin, and I was having a lot of fun still.
Wow. There's some things. Well, a lot of my like Iron Man. I would say that's hardcore, even though I'm not a hardcore anymore. But
No,
just
I definitely think you still fall under that umbrella.
the challenge there and the strategy. I mean, I never thought I would get smithing to 70, and here we are. But like Sekiro for me, that game is my challenge. If I die, I die, but it's still hard enough just to beat the game. Neo, Oolong, yeah, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and of course people say, oh, those games are easy now. Elden Ring, I still struggle with stuff. Other ones I don't. But I I myself cannot get myself to restart a game so many times over and over. For me, that's where the fun dips out. That's where it falls off. That's why hardcore WoW fell off for me, because I was tired of restarting.
Yeah, I mean, imagine I've seen clips of players who lose like level 40 and 50 and 60 level accounts, which takes hundreds of hours in some cases to get to that point. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, all that time is wasted." And I would argue that it's not. If you're having fun, playing the game, then it's not. But yeah, it does. Like, I can't imagine what that feels like.
Yeah.
We've lost characters that we spent like a little over a week playing pretty consistently.
Hmm.
They've lost characters they spent like a full summer playing. I just
Yeah.
can't imagine. And then
Yeah.
a lot of them in those clips are like, "All right, let's run it back, do it again." Like, I'd probably
But
have to take a break or something. I don't know.
I would also say a lot of those people are streamers, and like there's
That's
some
true.
challenges
That's
that
true.
to me make no sense. Like the one tile challenge in RuneScape. If you're not a streamer, are you going to do that challenge? Seriously,
No.
what point is there? How is that
Well,
fun?
let's see, the guy Settled who did the Tile Man challenge. I don't think he was well, he might have streamed that one, but I don't think he streamed his Swampletics series where he stayed. It was a Ultimate Iron Man that could not leave Mauritania, and it took him like 5,000 hours to max, I think, but he did. And he
Dear
recorded the whole
Lord.
series. And I think he won like several awards from Jagex themselves at like one of the Rune Fests. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, he did another challenge recently. Well, I say recently. Um, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something crazy. I was thinking,
Well,
wow,
he's currently, and I've been watching it because I enjoyed a lot, but he's currently doing, and I forget what it's called. I think it's called like Death Mode or something like that, where he literally has 1 HP the entire
yes, that's what it is.
account. Like over the life of the account, he has 1 HP.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if he's doing like Ultimate Iron Man or not, but yeah, I saw a few episodes of that, and that's absolutely wild. But it's so fun to watch, and he has fun making these challenges for himself. So I think it's a win-win for people.
Well, that's a plug-in in Rune Light that you can get. But yeah, it gives you 1 HP. And there was one thing where you had to repair a fence, and he restarted like 60 times before he got it perfect. He's like, all right, now I can move on to the next thing. And he was only like level 7.
Yeah, for like people who like that kind of gameplay and people who desire those challenges, it's just another day at the park for them. If they have to restart 50 times, and it's kind of like me on a more micro level with Elden Ring, like if I have to restart 20, 30 times to beat that boss, It's nothing to me.
Yeah, but you burned yourself out on one of the greatest games ever.
Not for very long, and I ended up beating it pretty quickly thereafter.
Wow. I was the first to beat it. Hello.
But I beat it before Josh.
You did beat it before. I don't think Josh has beaten it. Or
I don't
maybe
know if he has either.
No, he has. He has. He has.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's just my approach to gaming these days. Like, I don't like. You always give me a hard time for playing Minecraft in hard mode and stuff like that. I just don't like easy games. I don't know. I just don't like it. If I'm trying to beat something, I want it to be pretty difficult. I want it to be challenging.
The problem, though, with Minecraft and hard, Jacob, is we need levels. Like, we need so many levels so we can enchant and all that. Yes. And in hard mode, the plethora of mobs that spawn in a dark corner of a lit cave is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like, oh, are you kidding me? I literally was just looking there. I turn around, there's a creeper blowing up in my face. I don't enjoy that.
It makes it tough, though, doesn't it?
Wow. I will say, though, building like town in survival mode as opposed to creative mode is so fun.
Yeah, it's so much more satisfying, for sure.
Like, remember, you had a a rail cart system on one of those worlds where we would take up. That was so cool. So cool. And in creative mode, it won't take you 10 minutes, but in survival mode, you gotta prepare.
It was also necessary from a functional standpoint because, like, traversing the terrain, like you said, in hard mode is quite treacherous. So, I was trying to make very efficient ways to get from point A to point B, so I could, minimize the chances of getting caught out by some mobs as low as possible.
Remember our first way to get up to the house was through the waterfall?
Yeah.
So we had to get, man, Jacob, my anxiety started racing one nighttime when I was running for the waterfall. Like, let's go.
Yep. And I wanted an entrance way that was not accessible to anybody but a player. So that was sort of the idea there. And it worked.
It was cool. We need to get back to playing that. We got to beat it. We got to get all the trophies still.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I still have that world, so we can pick it back up. But real quick, before we get too far removed, I do want to mention one thing as far as like hardcore gaming, because you were saying about all the stuff that I played that you thought was crazy. I think the craziest thing that I did, that I'm still in the progress of, I put it down, was I started playing Halo Combat Evolved with Legendary and the Iron Skull on. So basically, like, if I die at any point throughout the mission, I get reverted back to the start.
Well, now, hold on, Jacob. I don't think you're crazy, because I was going to do that challenge with you, and then you stopped playing. And I was like, what am I done?
Did we start with Halo Combat Evolved?
I thought so, or was it Halo 2?
It might have been Halo 2, because like, whenever I went over to the mission to start it, I only had solo play. I didn't have any, like, multiplayer, because it shows you like what difficulty you beat it in, solo or multiplayer. I didn't have any for Combat Evolved, but the point I was trying to make was that challenge, I didn't think it would be that hard, because I mean, Halo CE is not the most difficult of the campaigns. The Truth and Reconciliation, the third mission, I kid you not, and I didn't play it like consistently, but I would try it every now and again. It took me I don't want to say 3 months, probably like 2 months to try to get through that mission without dying one time on Legendary. It was so much more difficult than I ever thought it would be. The most random things can kill you. The hunters are quite difficult. The elites in that mission are ridiculous. There are several times where, like, when you free the prisoners, where invisible elites just come out of nowhere and swarm you. I had to memorize like every single part of that in order to beat it, and it still shocked me whenever I beat it. The Silent Cartographer is much easier, but I'm still stuck on Assault on the Control Room. That one's just a really long mission. But
is Truth and Reconciliation the one where you get warped up into the spaceship?
Yes.
That mission without the skull, just on the hardest difficulty, is so hard. Man, it's so hard.
Yeah, it took me forever because sometimes I don't know if there's a pattern, but as soon as you get into the carrier and all of those gold elites come out, um, I don't know if it's random or not. I feel like it is because you don't know what door they're going to come out of. And even if you jump on the raids that are in the room, they can still kill you. And it's so hard to get enough damage in before they get to you. And if you die, you go right back to the start.
Just imagine the library.
I know. I see. That's why I was like putting down the challenge because I'm like, man, I'm struggling at these missions. There's no way. And then keys. Oh,
I needed you to help me get through the library. And normal.
yeah, that mission is ridiculous, though.
That last mission though is pretty difficult too. Just escaping.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But I was going to go through all three games, Halo 1, 2, and 3, and then maybe do ODST and even Reach perhaps. But I don't know. Like that's a challenge where like it seems so daunting to me. So I don't even know if I want to begin climbing that mountain. But maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. That's one that I'm fine to leave alone. It's weird though, like how some challenges really irk at me, but others I could care less. Like
Yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason to it, I guess. But
Well, here's a challenge I have for myself, and I mean, you probably have the same challenge too. When we play like Battlefield Online, my challenge is not only to keep above a 3 KD,
yeah,
which is, I mean, it's pretty difficult, but also to win. So if I have one but not the other, I fail. So I can have a 40 OKD and we lose, and I feel like, well, that was a fail. I can have a win and have like a 10-7 KD. Feel like, yeah, we won, but it was not good. So I guess that's my challenge. One of my challenges.
You know what's interesting is like whenever I was younger, especially, I would find my like love for gaming in multiplayer competitive situations.
Yeah.
Like being the best at Call of Duty 4 or being the best at Halo 3 or being the best at FIFA Online. But as I've gotten older, and yeah, Rocket League and Battlefield, I love to win. I love to do well in those games. But I find I get much more satisfaction on a personal level whenever I do beat those before mentioned challenges of like a Nuzlocke or, like my Iron Man account. I feel much more pride and satisfaction in those accomplishments than I ever did in like competitive gaming online.
Yeah, I have noticed too as we've gotten older. I mean, at least for me, and you just mentioned for yourself, that I find more enjoyment out of uh, challenges like you were saying, Heart or Iron Man, and then Nuzlocke, and then just challenging games in general, like Bloodborne, Diablo Hardcore, stuff like that. I find much more enjoyment playing those than I do online. Now, don't get me wrong. When you and I squad up on Battlefield or we team up on Rocket League, I have a blast. But here's the thing:
Yeah, I do too. I agree.
if you're not on or someone's not on to play, I don't play those games by
Yeah,
myself.
I was about to say the last like shooter that I played religiously without you being online was Battlefield 1. And
I
that's just because that's probably my favorite shooter of all time.
Battlefield 1, really?
Yeah. I can't tell you how much I love that game. It's right up there for me with Black Ops the original and like Halo 3. It's truly one of my favorite shooters I've played ever. But
I think I'm in the same boat in terms of last time I would play by myself. And like back in my Battlefield 3 days, I would get on all the time. Like I would determine Skyrim or Battlefield 3. I'm like, I'll play Battlefield 3 by myself, Jacob, and just have a blast. Nowadays, I'm not getting on the Battlefield without some backup. Now, I did last week or a week before, and as I'm playing, I'm like, man, I'm doing fine. I'm winning, but I just don't enjoy it as much anymore by myself.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad you mentioned Skyrim because that's another game that I had to really master, and I was able to beat at the time the hardest difficulty in the game without any issue on a character that I do think I died once, but it was just the one time. Um, so I don't know. I just really like breaking down a game, trying to master it, trying to be, you know, trying to
You
complete
know
these
what?
challenges. It just
You
makes
know
the
what?
games way more fun for me. And
What
I
I
know there's a lot of people out there that disagree, and they're going to think that it's an ego thing, it's my pride. Maybe to a certain extent, they're correct, but it's just how I have fun. And for me, and this is something I always tell people who ask me, is why you play games. It's because I have fun. Like that's when it's all said and done. I try to have fun with, or if I'm not having fun with the game, I'm not going to play it. Even if people hate the game, like Diablo 4, a lot of people hate that game and think it's an absolute pile of garbage. But I have so much fun whenever I play it that despite, yeah, it has some flaws, of course it does, but at the end of the day, I have fun with it, so I'm going to continue to play it. It's pretty simple, actually.
It is, but what I don't understand about Skyrim is you give yourself a challenge of not dying, but you will not use alchemy and herb or
Yeah, no alchemy, no enchanting. Well, I did enchant. I did have enchanting, but I
I
didn't
don't
break it with
understand.
alchemy.
You know how to break. I've never broken the game.
Well, I just wanted to see if it was possible, though. Like, I
I
wanted to see, can I beat the game and get to level like 60 or 70 in master difficulty, dying less than 3 times? That was my challenge.
Fun fact: I've never made it to level 60 in Skyrim.
I did. I've done it twice, actually, 63 and 61.
Once you hit like 50, once you hit 40, the leveling up is so slow.
It is. I mean, it is. I think the highest character is like 80 something, 86, I think, something like that.
Well,
But
I think it's unlimited now.
it is unlimited now with the legendary thing. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, I was able to do it without alchemy, and I did have enchanting, but alchemy. I don't know. I just wanted to see if it was possible, and turns out, yeah, of course it is. Without sneak, also that was another thing. I had no sneak on the character either. It was a
Ooh.
alteration battle mage that had conjuration and restoration. And really, once you get high restoration, you can use respite and you can use some of the higher like close wound spells. You're
Yeah.
pretty much solid. I mean, like it's really hard to die, and especially when you pair that with ebony flesh and what is it called? Dragon skin, I think, that reduces your
Yeah.
damage by a flat 80%. It's really hard to die. So
Did you have the Daedric conjured weapons?
yeah, I had all the. This is the character I got platinum on, so it was all the Daedric weapons and stuff. I didn't really use them that much. I made a I was a battle mage, so I had one-handed weapons all the way up, and I had a really powerful, um, a Daedra like battle axe or something like that. And I think I used conjure sword as well, or the bound weaponry, so
Yeah, yeah, bound. Yeah.
which are really
The
powerful.
conjuring isn't that powerful? The conjuring weapons. I had an elf character, and the Dawn Star quest where you get that old like elf armor and it's white and whatnot.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got that armor, but my weapons were the conjured sword and the conjured bow, and I had so much fun. I was like, "This is so cool!" Like I'm
Oh yeah,
conjuring.
dude, I
I
love them.
felt like
Like
a avenger conjuring my stuff.
sort of like the meme with Skyrim is like everybody eventually becomes a stealth archer. I actually can't stand that play style. My problem is like every character I make just migrates toward the bound weaponry and conjuration,
Hmm.
and that's my favorite school, right behind or right in front of alteration. So
Yeah.
like those are my two like crutches. I always build characters that depend on those skills way too much, but they're so fun, especially when you have a little bit of illusion magic sometimes thrown in there. The game's
Ooh.
awesome.
I had I made a vampire build. That that was fun. It had some magic in it. There was no stealth though. No stealth. It was full vampire. My weapon was Harkon's sword, which drained people's life and gave it to
Oh
you,
yeah,
and
yeah,
also
yeah.
magic.
Love it.
And then you could feed as a vampire and get health back. Um, and I had magic as my side for like blast. I was like a vampire mage. So fun, man. So fun.
I've always wanted to do like all my characters. I've made it to the Vanguard DLC. I've always done the Vanguard. I've never done the vampires themselves. I need to do that because I've wanted to see how that plays out.
Like you don't know what happens with the story.
No, I haven't. Like I've seen some people talk about it, but I haven't wanted to spoil it. But
I will say this. I don't want to spoil it for you.
I know you turn into the Vampire Lord. I know you can get that ability, which looks awesome, by the way.
It is. In terms of the final boss, I don't want to say because I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm just hoping you guess.
I'm sure I will be playing that game at some point. I usually do a playthrough like once a year. I'm sure I will definitely go through the other side this time. No question.
Yeah, that's a great game. Great game.
But I don't really have much else to add to it other than I think hardcore gaming is awesome. It's not only great to watch, but it's a ton of fun to play. And I hope more people at least try it. Like maybe not hardcore WoW or hardcore Diablo 4 where, you die, you lose all your progress. But RuneScape old school is a great way to jump into like that kind of play style if you are curious, because it is a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people would enjoy it if they gave it a chance.
Yeah, definitely RuneScape challenging play style. If you die, the penalty is you lose your hardcore, but you still have your account, so you can still continue the challenge of Iron Man. So if you're like, I don't want to lose my account, I would suggest that as well because it's so fun.
You know what else is kind of crazy before we wrap up? We were talking when we started our Iron Man, like Ultimate Iron Man seems absolutely ludicrous not having a bank. I'm not saying I want to play this way, but I love to see how efficient players are and the strategies they come up with to overcome certain challenges on Ultimate Iron Man. I think that's really cool.
It may be cool, but I'm never doing it.
No, I don't think I want to, but yeah, like some of the stuff that they come up with, I'm like, oh, that's really clever. I didn't realize that was a viable idea, but yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, that's something.
Like POH, for example, they use all the time, and they store a lot of their money in the Nightmare Zone, like in the coffers and stuff like that.
I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't either. Like I saw people doing it. Like they have stuff stored all over the map. Basically, at some like whenever they get really high level and they have access to a lot of different things. I'm like, wow, that's such a cool idea. I didn't even know that was.
Think about that. You could store stuff in your house on displays.
Yeah. You can just store all the costumes. You can store. You can store jewelry. You can repair all the Barrow's armor there.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, so it's really cool what people come up with. I like seeing the creativity.
It's like art.
But with that said, I would like to quickly say thank you so much to all of our listeners who have been actively listening to our show. I'd like to say thank you specifically to the people who have started commenting on our YouTube. It's been great seeing that momentum start to form, and we greatly appreciate that. Leaving the likes and subscribing also is very much appreciated, obviously. We greatly appreciate that as well. I've been receiving a lot of feedback from our recent episodes, and a lot of people seem to have enjoyed them. I think a lot of people resonated with some of the topics that we talked about, which is always great to see. And again, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts. If it's something we've already talked about, maybe we didn't hit everything, you can weigh in. We have our social media in the description of each episode we post, whether that be on YouTube or the show notes on any of the platforms we post our podcast to. Obviously the email address is there as well. You can send us in that information. Brantley, was there anything else you wanted to add as it relates to the topic or anything?
No, not at all. I just want to clear the air. I am not a flat earther. I believe the earth is a sphere, as we all know it to be, a globe. But no, in terms of the topic, hardcore gaming is fun. I personally do not like restarting a billion times, but I do like challenges in games like Iron Man. Halo on hard difficulty, trying to beat that. Neo, Sekiro, all those games. Elden Ring, Bloodborne, those are challenging at first.
Yep.
For seasoned vets like you and me. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
They're not as challenging anymore, but no, I'm just appreciative of all the people listening out there. And stay tuned, because we got more good episodes coming up. We got some guests coming on soon, hopefully. And yeah.
Well said. And I just want to say another round of thanks to everybody who has shown us that support on YouTube. It does mean a lot to us, and we really appreciate it. But with all of that said, we will sign out here. Brantley, thank you so much for your time as always. Thank you everybody who listened to this episode. We greatly appreciate it. And we will be back next week. Peace.